Mad Dog Decurso if it's real or fake. Golden Greek told us the giant goon Dickoff. El Toro, the Grunt Brothers too. The Wild Samoans got something crazy going. They're gonna be going after you. Wrestling tonight. Everything is bigger than life. Wrestling tonight. Rock and roll and wrestling tonight. Flying drop kick, suplex, mail, stomping.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Wrestling Tonight. I am your hardcore host, Mad Dog Butch. Joining me as always, the Soldat Ustinov to my Boris Zukov. None other than Brace Beemer.
Yeah.
And
I just juiced the level meter up on that one.
And our special guest joining us once again. And I have not checked the YouTube views lately, but I know at one point our last show with you was the top viewed, getting close to 200 views.
Wow.
So
good job.
Welcome back. It's a pleasure to have you back, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule. None other than the Michigan Wrestling Organization CEO, Jason Clouse.
Thank you for having me back. I appreciate it. Love being on the show. That's a good time.
Welcome back, man.
Hey, it's good to be here. It's good to see you.
Oh, yeah, man.
Now, anybody that is watching obviously is going to be able to figure out what our topic is if they didn't already know. But
look at all this stuff strewn about.
Oh, before we get started, I got a couple things. As always, whenever we have a guest on here, we like to present them with a gift to show our appreciation for them being on the show. So, hold on one second.
Even for repeat?
Yeah.
Yes, really?
Yeah, even for repeat guests.
I'll be.
Don't get too excited.
Mad Dog gives gifts that just keep on giving.
First of all, I got these little guys. Since our topic is wrestling toys, here's a little John Cena for you,
That
and
is
a
fantastic.
little Finn Balor for you.
No place to shove your thumb up there behind on these.
Not on these. And
Those are pretty
I
cool,
suppose you could. If you,
Those are very cool.
If
I
you tried
appreciate
real
it.
hard.
Thank you.
Look at the detail on
I
this
know.
well, I'm not done.
Oh,
Also, a rock, the Rock,
that is awesome.
and now these I thought these were like San Diego Comic-Con exclusives, but I was able to find them at the store. I could be wrong. Maybe they're different colors, but it's kind of a mashup of old 80s I mean, I guess they were wrestling toys. They were more monster toys, but they've made
Oh my God.
they've crossed the old muscles with actual WWF figures. So you have actually in this one you got a Junkyard Dog, a Jake the Snake, and an Ultimate Warrior.
These are awesome. I have seen these.
And
These
Brace
are
Beemer, I feel
fantastic.
bad for you. So
That's darn near a Battle Royal pack.
so
It really
Brace
is.
Beemer, I actually
sweet.
got you one as well, and you got the Iron Sheik, Ric Flair, and Mean Gene Okerlund.
All right. Another famous gene in wrestling.
But now I was
Great.
There's a gene every week.
Jabs?
Here. We make it,
now this one I was actually surprised to find in the wild.
That's pretty cool.
This
Thanks,
is
man.
no problem. This is a ultra rare, ultra valuable. Possibly due to the likeness of it, but I was shocked that I found this hanging on the pegs, and it is none other than the super stretchy Andrew the Package Steel.
Oh, that's great. That's perfect.
Oh my
Circa what? Probably 2000, maybe.
Oh my God, that tickled me.
Oh, man.
That's fantastic.
He'd love that one, too. That's a beaut.
I mean, on a couple levels.
Yeah.
But, I mean, let's. neither here nor there,
Yeah.
man. That's I
Oh,
mean, you can play with
gosh.
it, you can collect it, you know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Camera got a good shot of that, didn't it?
You might here. Let me try it again, just in case anybody's watching. The package Andrew Steele, super stretchy wrestling figure. They did have an Alex too, but I had to go back and get that one. So.
Did he have the same color tights or different?
Yeah, he was pretty much exactly the same.
So those
It
are
is-
like the Stretch Armstrong gimmicks
Oh.
from when we were kids.
Yeah,
Crazy.
I mean, those will pop up every now and then, but
Wonder if they got the same jelly in them. I don't know.
But before we get started, I did want to mention you have a new YouTube venture called Clouse to the Heart.
Yes.
If you'd like to tell people about that.
Oh, I appreciate the opportunity. It's my new show on YouTube. We're just trying to spotlight on the more positive things in life and give some the spotlight to the unsung heroes that walk among us every day that
It's needed.
don't necessarily have that opportunity. So we're on YouTube. Just look for Clouse to the Heart, and we're on Facebook too. So
Nice.
if you like what you see, just keep every week I have something new. So
Okay.
So you have a Facebook page in addition to the.
to the YouTube. Yep.
All right, cool.
Yep. It all goes back and forth between
Okay.
one and the other.
All right. Cool. Yeah, I subscribe to it, but I have not yet had a chance to watch it. I'm not gonna lie.
So
But I will check it out as soon as I get a chance.
Are these just normal people that you're highlighting, or like what's the?
Yeah, I mean we're in like week 2, I guess.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm still trying to get my footing
Yeah.
and establish a format and things like that. But I mean it's coming along. I mean every episode has a message.
Yeah.
Good, bad, or indifferent. It's just the way I look at things, and maybe it's something that other people may relate to.
Cool. Good deal. I'll check
It's
it
just
out.
It's just something new.
All right. Excellent. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out as soon as I get a chance. Also, MWO has a show coming up this
Sunday.
Sunday?
Yep,
It is
in-
Sunday? Okay.
In Davison at the Sprint Store, part of an all-day live outdoor event. We're trying to help people out that are less fortunate, and the people there at the Sprint Store, Chris and Sarah Collins, have done a lot of work, put together backpacks with school supplies, and
Okay,
Oh,
great.
nice.
they're going to have bounce houses there, hot dog eating contest. Everything starts at 11 a.m.
11. Okay.
and the matches will be held periodically throughout the afternoon. So
Oh,
Okay.
cool.
it's going to be a cool deal.
All right, great. Hopefully I'll be able to make it.
How many
That's
matches
always
you
kind of up in
guys?
the air, but
Right now we got 7 matches that have been announced, but you never know what's
Yeah.
going to happen during the show.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen.
Right
in
now
this
there's
crazy
7.
World of wrestling.
We'll see what happens. Apparently Rick Cartier is all bent out of shape about something. He's going to confront me, or I don't know, some something like that.
And just think, we just had him on the show here a couple shows ago too.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Unreal.
Yes, we did.
Yep.
All right. Before we get into today's discussion, I just want to play something here. So, you check it out.
With wrestling superstars, it's like having a real match right in your own home. Yes, there's Jimmy Superfly Snuka, the Iron Sheik, Hulk Hogan, and Big John Studd. And now you can fly 'em and flip 'em in the Sling 'em Wrestling Ring. Wrestling superstars and new wrestling ring, each sold separately from LJN.
Hey, kid.
Wow.
All right. now,
Flash from the
I'm
past.
telling you.
now, first time I saw that, I was already a wrestling fan. But I was a toy fan, but yeah, I don't know, that really like caught me off guard for some reason. I mean, I just remember being so excited to get these things, and I think a lot of it was due to that commercial. Like I remember like specifically thinking, because I mean you can't see it at home, but in it, Jimmy Snuka jumps off the stairs and Iron Sheik comes out from behind the curtains. And I remember like planning out in my head that I was going to like get Jimmy Snuka and have him like dive off the half wall in my house onto somebody and do the Superfly leap. But so if memory serves me correctly, the first one I got was Hulk Hogan, and not this Hulk Hogan. It was a different version of Hulk Hogan that came out first. And then I think I got the Iron Sheik, and then probably Randy Macho Man Savage after that. If I'm right, I think those are the first three that I had. And then it was just off to the races from there. They are, well, I mean, the way that anybody from the WWF tells it, that they were still calling them wrestling dolls at the time, or still calling them dolls at the time. And they probably are more like dolls than action figures because they were more kind of like statues.
Mm-hmm.
I guess there was plans to do figures that were articulated more like the AWA ones that we'll talk about later. But we're talking about the very first, and we're talking about wrestling action figures, obviously. I'm not going to get into the history of like Japan and Mexico because I'm pretty sure that they beat us to it.
Yeah.
But as far as mainstream American wrestling action figures, these were the very first ones. The company's LJN, WWF Superstars. You know, no matter whose house you went to, I think everybody had at least one or two of these guys.
Absolutely.
So Jason,
Every garage sale too.
oh yeah. Jason, do you remember like your first memories of the LJN wrestling?
I mean, much like you, Butch, you know, we seen the ad probably on Saturday morning watching the WWF on Channel 2, I think it was at the time, and it started out with a couple. My mom went out and got us Hulk Hogan, and it's not that one, it's the one with the yellow trunks, and Hillbilly Jim were our first two. And then a couple weeks later, she got us a couple more and a couple more. It was always an even, number, so we didn't have.
Oh, okay.
So we had enough to do a full match, at least a
right.
one-on-one match. My mom was very cool about stuff like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then like Christmas, we knew we would wait for the Sears catalog to come out, and they would be all in there, and we would write down which ones we were, what page they were on, and all this other stuff. So there was no mistake about it. But yeah, I mean, very early on, 85, I think, I'm pretty sure. And, like anything else that we had a fandom for, we went over the top with, had to have everything, the rings and, all that stuff. So, and I still have that. These are from my childhood. This is the Macho Man and Andre the Giant with the short hair.
Yeah.
And
that one's, I mentioned that earlier. That one's a little bit more valuable nowadays than the long-haired one that I had. The long-haired one. Pretty much everybody had the long-haired one.
Right.
I don't see that one a whole lot.
No, I don't either. Even at the garage sales and things of this nature. But the LJNs now, it's like the popularity is really hitting a resurgence. There's all kinds. I'm a part of a couple of groups on Facebook where people are buying and selling and trading, and then the ones that they have extras over, they're now customizing.
Yeah.
And for today's stars, and man, some incredible work. And I'm like,
know.
that's what I want to do. Either refurbish these or they're getting a complete total makeover.
Right. Yeah. I belong to some of those groups as well. Brace, do you remember your first memory of the LJN Superstar wrestling dolls?
Yeah. Well, I got to say first, though, that I got into the Remco, the AWA figures first. They were the first ones available.
Mm-hmm.
So I got into those first. And then the LJNs, I think the first, it was at Toys R Us. I remember buying like a Sheik and Volkov. And then, geez, I can't remember who else I had like right away. It was Sheik and Volkov, and I think maybe Snuka and somebody else from that first set. I can't remember who it was.
Maybe Piper, because Piper was pretty popular.
Yeah, probably. It probably was Piper.
Yeah.
Because I remember I didn't buy, like when the Savage came out, I didn't get him right away because the way he was posed, you know.
Well, I think the first 4, even though the other ones were advertised at the end of it, but the first 4 that you could find, I think, were Snuka, Stud, Iron Sheik, and Hogan. Those, I think, were like the ones that were like readily available.
Okay.
And then, I mean, but at the end of the commercial, you see, I think, Steamboat and Piper and some of the other ones that came out a little bit.
So it must
after,
have been like a little bit after.
Yeah.
Because I remember I wasn't into
it wasn't
right
too
away.
long. I mean, they all kind of,
They
it
trickled
wasn't
out.
too long. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wasn't into them immediately because I had like a huge lot of the Remco AWA figures. And you had the He-Man ones and then, to battle with them.
We did the exact same thing.
We were talking about that
We were
before,
talking about
yeah.
that before the show. Absolutely.
Yeah. Went from like Star Wars to G.I. Joes. Instead of playing Star Wars, you wrestled.
Right. And then the Star Wars. I mean, absolutely. Smooth transition.
But yeah, the LJNs were huge, and it didn't seem like you couldn't find all of them. It didn't seem like, and it's maybe because I was younger and always didn't have the money to buy them.
Right. Right.
It just seemed like they weren't like there were Sheik and Volkovs all over the place. But
Yeah.
like some of them, they just always seemed like a little more difficult to find.
Yeah.
Maybe it was like from popularity or whatnot, but
Yeah. Now, in my memory too, the AWA ones came out around the same time. But looking these up, they're saying that the LJN Superstars actually came out in '84, and in everything that I've seen, and they're saying that the AWA Remcos didn't come out till like '85.
I don't.
But,
Yeah, I don't.
But in my memory, they were out kind of around the same time. So that's tough. It's just I don't really remember. I had mentioned on a previous show that I thought my first memory of wrestling figures was seeing J.J. Hughes' uncle in the locker room, Eddie the Maverick Hughes, playing with his ring, AWA ring, and toys.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong. Maybe that was just my first. The first time that I saw the AWA Remco figures, but either way, that's up in the air. But
Yeah, they were pretty close, even by like Wiki and most of the other places. It does say that AWA was the first. So whether it was by a week or a month or 6 months or whatnot.
now, we talked about it when you were on the show before, and you said that you actually used to keep track of the matches, and I mean back in the day, I could remember like all that stuff, so I never thought I had to. But now I'm kicking myself. I wish I would have kept track of all that stuff. But
I was a freak about it. I really was.
I mean, I would say we were also,
Yeah.
but maybe not to that extent. But was there any like feuds or anything that like stick out in your mind? Or I remember like having like gimmick matches.
I love you for this. The biggest rivalry that I had, it's probably one of the last ones that I did played out with actual action figures was Hogan against Ted Arcidi.
Nice.
Okay, because Ted Arcidi was a big face
Yes.
at the time, and he turned heel. He turned on Hogan, and that WrestleMania was going to be Hogan and Arcidi, and
Okay.
I remember that one. I didn't have the British Bulldogs at the time as a tag team, so my tag team scene was kind of, you know what I mean.
Okay.
So, but I did get the Corporal Kirshner figure, and then the Hacksaw Jim Duggan figure.
Okay.
So they would naturally feud with Sheik and Volkov, right? That
Right.
was
Oh, heck
my main tag team
course.
title,
Yes.
rivalry. But going back to me right now, like you remember TV guides back in the day.
Yeah.
Okay. That's how I wrote out and typed out all of my matches and my results as if you were thumbing through an issue of TV Guide. Like every month
okay.
I would draw a wrestler, and then I would come up with, okay, on Monday we're going to be in Toronto at the Maple Leaf Gardens, and it's going
Nice.
to be this match, this match, this match, this match. And then on Tuesday we're going to go over to Montreal, and we're going to be in the Montreal Center there, and it's going to be, you know what I mean? I was I was stupid about it, and my mom seen it one day cleaning my room or whatever, and I come home from school. She goes, "Are these actual results?" And I'm like, no. I was like, this is my week's layout for TV because we're building up to Saturday night's main event, Mom. You know, see, I was dead serious about this stuff. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Brace, any memorable feuds stick out in your mind?
Bockwinkel and Flair.
Well, we haven't got
one.
the AWA yet.
Oh, okay.
I'm
we're
talking LJS.
Okay. All right. Oh, jeez. Probably.
If not, don't worry about it.
I mean,
curious.
Sheik and Volkov against like anybody.
yeah. Sheik and Volkov were the men in your league. I remember that.
Yeah, it was
for
pretty
a long time.
Yeah, pretty much Sheik and Volkov against anybody. Because like the singles champ, I think I would exchange that every so often, but the tag team, it was pretty much like Sheik and Volkov. I was a big tag team fan mostly, so that's probably where I concentrated.
I mean, as a sidebar, what does that say about Sheik and Volkov as characters?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To have that kind of impact where even in your mind and you're playing with toys, they're your go-to team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And even then, when
just
you kind of
based
laugh
on the
about
gimmick,
it,
right?
But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Now you mentioned customizing a little bit earlier. We used to do that, and I've mentioned this before on the show, but I was a huge stickler for scale, and this will come into play later too with why I skipped over other toy lines. But obviously, Greg the Hammer Valentine was out of scale. Paul Orndorff was out of scale.
Yeah.
So. But before we even knew that was a thing, we would change. We changed Paul Orndorff into Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
I changed. I changed. I didn't really have to do a lot of changing, but I used my Greg Valentine as Primetime Brian Lee, so yeah, it's crazy now. Like you were saying, the customizers out there. I have been working on a Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert that I should have brought with me. I've changed it. I posted them on my page, but
yeah, that looks sweet last time.
but yeah, I need to finish that up. I came across, and I never had the Bulldogs when I was a kid either, but I came across a set at a reasonable price, so I got them. But then after I was looking at them, I was like, that would make a good Eddie Gilbert, the Dynamite Kid. So I started changing him, and now I got to figure out what I'm going to change the Davy Boy into. The Davy Boy was a little jacked up. It looked like someone bit his nose off. So I'm trying to figure out what to turn him.
It wasn't
into,
one of your
but,
dogs that chewed him up, was it?
No, it was no. No, I just recently got him.
Oh, okay.
He came like that, but now, were you familiar with? I know you used to buy the wrestling magazines as well, but there was like a big company. Like we would obtain a lot of our. I believe I obtained probably these two, which is Demolition Axe and then the white shirt Hulk Hogan, from a company that would be advertised in the wrestling magazines called the Wrestling Ring.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I remember, okay, I got those two out of there. I might have bought some other ones out of there. But I remember I tried to get Bret Hart, who was already my favorite wrestler. I tried to get him, I think, as a singles. And then they would send me something back saying he sold out. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to spring and get the tag team. So I sent in the money for the tag team with Jim the Anvil Neidhart, which is what I wanted anyway. Send it back. They're sold out.
Huh.
Towards the tail end, probably when I bought, I don't know, one of these from there anyway, there's a flyer in there saying what the next series is going to be. So I immediately order Bad News Brown and send it back in. Then they come back and they're like, that one got canceled. So that whole line, and then it turns out that LJN ended up going out of business. But but did you ever order a thing?
Well, I did. My mom did, and it was I think Christmas of '89 maybe. Axe was part of it.
Yeah.
Rick Rude was part of it.
Yeah.
We had posted a picture of me and my brother on Christmas morning. She got a lot of that stuff from the Wrestling Ring, but she had also ordered me a Hulk Hogan T-shirt that they had advertised.
Okay.
And what she got back in the mail, and she wound up, letting me have it because she was What she got back was not what she ordered. What she
Oh.
got back was a T-shirt that had a picture of him like ironed on.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it wasn't screen printed or anything like that. It was like a knockoff. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
And she says, "I am never ordering another damn thing from that company ever again," because apparently she had all kinds of issues trying to get,
get 'em?
in
Okay.
time for Christmas.
Oh.
The cancellations or they're on back order or whatever the case may be. So she's like, "This is the last time." But they came with cool catalogs every once in a while. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? So I was
exactly.
like, "Man, this place is legit."
Yeah.
As
Yeah, totally.
12-year-old kid, you're all, this is really cool stuff.
Yeah, no, not non-action figure related, but they used to be able to like order wrestling gear out of there.
Yeah.
You could order like trunks and
Oh, yeah.
boots
Yeah.
and tights and belts and I mean, I don't think we ever did. I mean, I think we talked about it, but never did. But you used to purchase, and then there was another one that was like a lower version of the wrestling ring that would have like a smaller ad, and then didn't you like end up with some?
Yeah.
You kind of scammed them.
Yeah. In all honesty, it was called Wrestling World.
Okay.
Yeah, and I ordered quite a few figures from there, and everything went pretty smoothly. And then one time, there was a little hiccup, and then I got my stuff, but like I called in between the time that I was supposed to get it and when I actually got it,
Okay.
and because it was supposed to be delivered already. So I called them and I said, "Hey, man, I'm looking for my 2 figures or whatever." They didn't deliver. And then they came, or they may have came the day before, and I called. So I called and said, "Hey, I got a delivery that didn't come." And so I got like Harley Race and Adrian Adonis, I think.
Yeah.
Since they were, quote, free, I got the Adonis because you couldn't do anything with him like the way he was
Wasn't he
posed.
posed weird?
Yeah, he was like this or something.
Kind of at an angle. And
Yeah.
Yeah, his legs were like both
goofy.
Both, like,
Yeah, it was so weird, and he was such a good worker, and you couldn't do anything with him.
Yeah, that was the only issue I had with those is like some of the poses that they picked for these guys. Like they should have just posed everybody like this.
Yeah.
And they just had the same pose because who cares?
Right.
Especially at the end, they had Rick Rude and his I mean, I never had him, but his hands were like attached to his hip.
Yeah.
Did a great suplex because we did have them.
And they
You
were
know.
Oh, you did have
like
them?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Great suplex and
Yeah.
shoulder blocks. Other than that, you're pretty much screwed.
Maybe you could sneak a DDT in there.
Every once in a
somewhere.
while.
Yeah.
But only when he feuded with Jake, because Jake's arms were like
Oh, yeah,
this.
that
Oh,
was
yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
You couldn't even do one with him.
Yeah, that was another thing. It's like if you're gonna make a Jake the Snake Roberts, why don't you put his arm like this?
Yeah.
The one arm like that.
Right.
That would be perfect because there was quite a few guys that did have the arm like that. That would have been perfect, but I guess they didn't think about stuff
I
like
turned
that back then. But.
I turned the old Hogan into Jake the Snake. I was going to bring him.
Oh yeah, you
Really?
did.
Yeah, that worked out a lot better.
Oh, I'm sure.
I forgot
Yeah.
that you did that
Because they
Yeah.
didn't have a Jake the Snake at the time.
Mm.
I don't think I got him until later.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went on a LJN buying spree about 15 years ago. Bought a couple lots
That's cool.
off of eBay.
Mhm. How'd that work out for you?
It worked out great.
Okay.
Yeah, because I got like the Bulldogs, the Heart Foundation,
Yeah.
like a bunch of the
I think-
ones that I didn't get. Either I like got out of it or couldn't find them.
Right.
Yeah, I think you got those like at the perfect time because it was like right before they started to boom and the prices started going back up
Yeah.
again. So
Yeah.
I remember that you got like a huge lot and you got some like decent ones too.
Yeah.
Now who I mentioned this before too. I thought I brought him, but I didn't. But my longest reigning champion was Hercules Hernandez, I believe. For whatever reason, well, I know the reason. It was because I could do like the most moves that I wanted to do with him. He could do sweet drop kicks.
Yeah.
And he didn't wrestle like Hercules Hernandez. He did probably at first, but there was a wrestler, like most of the time, just to make the matches longer, I would like kind of mix up move sets. Like they would have their move set, but I had to add like other stuff to it. So there was a guy in international wrestling called Sheik Ali.
He was
And
awesome,
these,
man.
like he did like some cool moves. So like basically Hercules, the way he wrestled was like a mix between the actual Hercules Hernandez and this guy Sheik Ali. So who was your longest reigning champion? My guess is Hogan.
Oh yeah.
But
Without a doubt.
Okay.
One long interrupted title reign because there's no way anybody's going to beat Hulk
Did
Hogan.
anybody ever kick out from the leg drop?
No.
Whoa.
That never happens. No. You got to think, Brace,
That's
man.
unreal, man.
I was, 10, 11, 12 years
Yeah.
old. Nobody was beating Hogan.
Yeah.
And then when it happened for real, oh God, the devastation, and it just is
See now,
mind crush.
Now I posed that question to him years ago. I was like, man, because I rooted for the heels almost right off the bat, but I didn't make my heels win all the time. But I think I posed that, and not that you thought it was legit, but I posed that question to him years ago. I was like, I wonder if kids that thought it was legit just made the good guys lose, or the bad guys lose to the good guys constantly. Like,
No, I was a realist about it. I mean,
Okay.
But you were like you weren't just a regular fan. You were like on our level.
right,
The
right.
10%ers.
No, because I mean, Macho Man was tough to beat.
okay,
Big John Studd was tough.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Stud and Bundy were champions for
Yeah.
a spell there.
I
you
did
know,
have a
with
Sheik and Volkov against Stud and Bundy. That was a big deal.
Absolutely.
a
I mean,
couple-
the talent alone,
Yeah.
just incredible.
my longest reigning tag team, now that you mention it, was probably Ventura and Savage.
I had the same team, bro.
They were
Yeah, I did too.
With Classy Freddie Blassie as their manager.
the only manager I had was Jimmy Hart, and man, I don't even remember. He might have managed those guys. I don't remember, but I think he was the only manager figure that I had.
That Blassie figure, now that you mention him, was shaped awesome because he had an arm up like this and he had a fist cocked like this.
For his cane.
For his cane.
Yep.
Yeah. He was sweet on interference. Come on.
Mr. Fuji was pretty cool with that little thumb and jabbing it.
Yeah, yeah. See, I never had any of those guys besides Hart. Obviously, he had the megaphone, so he could
Right.
whack everybody with the megaphone. But yeah, I never had Heenan or any of those guys. Which I'm kind of kicking myself now for picking those guys up. But if I was at the store and I had the choice between a Kamala
Yeah,
or
right.
Mr. Fuji, who am I gonna pick?
Yeah,
you
no
know?
kidding.
I mean, we'll see you next time, Kamala. I got to have Fuji, man. I got to have somebody manage Don Morocco.
I think I even have an Elizabeth that came with one of the lots that I bought like a while ago.
With or without the skirt.
I think without.
Man, I can't find my skirt or the skirt for my action figure.
But I got a big box of gimmicks with all my wrestling hair, like the clothing in it and everything. So I don't think she came with one.
Really?
Yeah. At least not the one that I got.
Now I'll just mention this now.
So wait, who was your big feud?
Man, I don't know. Nothing really sticks out, but he did mention Arcidi and Hogan. I remember at the end, after I get this Hogan, he was a heel. Yeah, and Arcidi was the big baby face, and I remember having like a huge. Arcidi was like a heel for a long time in a faction with the old Hulk Hogan, who was now a heel Barry Windham, and Hercules Hernandez. So when he ended up leaving the faction, he was like a huge baby face. I believe this Hogan was managed by Jimmy Hart, and it was like a huge cage match, and Arcidi ended up beating Hogan. But heel Hogan dominated everybody for a long, long time. I will say that.
So
That was towards the very end, though.
So you had the cage accessory that went on the ring?
I did not have the cage. It was just, in my imagination.
I didn't either. Did you?
Oh yeah, yeah. It was badass. It took, a good 10 minutes to put all the pieces on and snap together.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I think I may have promoted the very first event that was called Rage in the Cage, because I mean, if I went through the
Probably.
trouble of putting that thing on, every match was a cage match. That's where my big payoffs were.
Well, if you weren't, Vern Gagne would have sued you. So you must have been. Yeah, I never had that ring. I did. My mom, I think, just to mix stuff up every once in a while, would be like, give me like some of the off stuff. Like they had LJN also made the thumb wrestlers, but they also made the bendy wrestlers, and they had like a ring with a cage, and then you could like bounce them around.
They were like the
that.
mini
So she did-
LJNs.
Yes.
Yeah, I got a bunch of those.
Yep.
They almost look just like
Yes.
So
absolutely.
So I did have that ring, but I never had the big ring. My ring was just like a big, half of like a package. It was like all. It was like a, it was like a cardboard top, and then it had like foam all around the sides, but it was like perfect size. You, on the other hand, used to create your own rings. Maybe we should let's actually jump ahead. We mentioned it a little bit, but let me play this real quick, and then we'll start talking.
Gentlemen, a tag team extravaganza. Let the battle royale begin. Looks like Hawk is about to drop in on the fabulous ones. Uh-oh, the Baron's after the animal. But the animal has other plans. Will you look at this? Rick Martel is throwing Steve Kern right out of the ring. Oh my! And the Hawk has Stan Lane all tied up, and he's mad.
The Battle Royale playset comes complete with 6 figures, referee, and official wrestling ring from Rem.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so
That was great.
like we said, right around the same time, the AWA Remco figures came out, and they were cool. I think because I was already buying the LJNs, again, when I was forced with the dilemma of do I want the AWA Remco guys or should I get another LJN, I think I would always pick the LJN guy. So the only AWA guys I ever had were the Road Warriors, and I didn't even ask for them. I got them for Easter.
I remember that.
Yeah, but they were cool. I liked them. Towards the end, though, I know we searched for like the tail end guys, and those guys go for like a ridiculous amount of money now if you can find them. It's like Doug Summers and Buddy Rose, and I believe the Midnight Rockers.
Wow,
Yeah,
no
could
kid.
not
I
find
didn't
them
even
at
know
all.
they made
Oh,
those.
man.
Yeah, the Midnight Rockers.
I got the whole list right in my grubby
Did they ever
hands.
make a sold out Ustinov, by the way? Or Boris Zukov?
It was a Boris Zukov.
Okay.
It was Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty,
Yeah.
Nord the Barbarian, Boris Zukov, Doug Summers, Buddy Rose, Dick Worley. He had 2 different eye color variants. And Sheik Adnan El Casey.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
so I remember
General
looking-
Adnan, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they re-released the Nick Bockwinkel, Ric Flair, and Paul Ellering on Matt Mania cards.
Okay.
Because their last set was called Matt Mania.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Now, I do like these figures. You had a bunch of them, and I liked playing with them. But that's what I was going to say. You used to make your own rings for these guys, and those rings were like awesome. They would they'd make the bumping sound and everything.
Yeah, I spent some time, put the skirts on and everything.
Yeah.
Different company names. Like I didn't use like AWA or WWF, or I made up like National Wrestling League. Made my brother. I think, did I make you one at one time? One of those rings?
I don't think so.
But they were
'Cause
cool, man. They made noise and they kind of bounced, and it was a big deal. I made like a fence with like chicken wire. I had 2 little holes going through there.
No good.
Oh yeah, and I had the string coming. Even for the LJNs, I made a big ring. You know, it was more solid. It wasn't, because they were so much heavier. But I'd have like a light coming down from like a Christmas light coming down. All the lights in the room are off, and it'd just be the one.
That's awesome.
Spotlight. Oh yeah, those things are great. Those were my favorites by far.
Now, Jason, you brought a Remco Rick Martel with you today.
Yes.
Did you have a lot of the Remcos as well?
I-
Or actually, Brace. You brought
I mean,
some
Brace.
Remcos
I mean,
to show those.
he's got pretty much all the ones that I had. I didn't have the Road Warriors and Paul Ellering. I didn't, but the Ric Flair and the Freebirds, and what I thought was cool about them is in the packaging they had typed out like a promo, right? Brace, do you remember that?
Yeah.
Had a promo between whoever was doing the announcing and then their guys, so you could actually reenact the promo, and it was like some of these I haven't seen in years, man.
Kind of like the back of these, if you guys haven't looked.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't remember the AWA thing, but
Yeah, they did some really cool
Wow,
stuff, like
yeah.
on their cards,
Yeah.
And then they have a video cassette, and you would get like a guy with it,
Yeah.
I think it was I can't remember. I had that written down somewhere.
Just
But yeah, they had a bunch of gimmicks.
I mean, just the amount of guys that they made, and pretty much they made
Freebirds.
everybody that wasn't in well, not everybody, but all the big names that weren't in WWF at the time,
Right.
They
Let's get
pretty
the
much
little
made.
names out.
And like I was saying earlier, I believe to this day that is still the only Stan Hansen that's been made, at least by American companies.
Yeah, as far as I know.
And I believe that is the only Nick Bockwinkel that's ever been made.
Show those.
Yeah.
Everybody
Here's,
knows the Road Warriors.
Yeah, these were now. Like I said, pretty much anybody that we knew had the old school Hulk Hogan LJN, and pretty much anybody that we knew, if they had any of these, had the Road Warriors.
Except Basher over here.
Not necessarily Ellering, but those would be like the go-to that I think that everybody would pick first. But yeah, it's a shame.
I mean, this is an awesome. Look at the hair on the back.
This is an awesome Bockwinkel. But yeah, but it looks like you chopped his. Looks like you chopped his sideburns off.
I may have.
But
that is a crying shame. I did. That would have been so much better with the sideburns. Now I'm ticked.
But I can't believe that no one else has made a Nick Bockwinkel yet. I hope that Mattel one day will make one because I
want to know why the early versions of the Remcos had He-Man boots.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You see what I'm now. You look at Bockwinkel over here. He's got normal boots.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, well, they don't.
Oh, yeah,
they get. I mean, what the hell is happening here?
Yeah.
I guess I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, since you mentioned
Weird
He-Man,
observation. Yeah,
that was like these were perfect
Mm-hmm.
to fight the He-Man and the Master of the Universe guys.
Yep.
Because I had some of those, and those were like really the only guys that would match up to the Road Warriors because the LJNs were too big. Yeah, I just remember like going over to your house and you had a ton of them, and then Remco had a bunch of other lines too, with guys that were along the lines. You know, I mean, they use the same molds.
Yeah, like I got a bunch of those, like the Warlord Arc.
Yeah, they'd have like pirate guys, and fantasy guys, and stuff like that. So you could buy those, and they were like cheap. I mean, that was the good thing about these guys. I remember, it seemed like they were like a lot cheaper than the.
No, that's a Kurt Hennig turned into a Jacques Rougeau.
Jacques Rougeau. That's awesome.
So
but like
fantastic.
I said earlier, I remember like we had tried to make him into Bobby Eaton at one time, but the hair did not stay.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely need to have the AWA Remcos in the discussion. I think it wasn't too long after this, and this will be kind of a recurring theme too. Remco went out of business. It wasn't too long after that. But yeah, just another great action figure line.
That's your Martel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, this is
Because those two came in a packet.
and I just happened to bring my new Mattel Martel.
The model
so
Martel.
that's how it. That's how it's changed over the years. But
yeah,
this one is rare now. But anyway,
yeah,
it just cool. I mean, you had an Abdullah the Butcher, a Carlos Colon, Ric Flair.
Yeah, the Butcher and Cologne were pretty sweet. They came in like a 2-pack.
Yeah.
Well, all the initial series came either with 2 or 3.
Yeah, I remember that.
You know, they didn't sell the singles until the end.
Right.
When nobody could find them.
Yeah.
The Freebirds were a 3-pack though, weren't they? Yeah.
Yep.
They were, and then Road Warriors were a 3-pack with Ellering too. I mean, you could get them both ways. A lot of them. That was one thing about them. I think a lot of the guys you could get singles, 3-packs, 2-packs. Because didn't they have a Precious too with Jimmy Garvin and Steve Regal?
Yep, sure did.
The other Steve Regal, Mr. Electricity.
Mr.
Steve
Electricity.
Regal.
I was like, who was he with? I was just trying. I was just trying to remember who he was with.
So.
Yeah, these were my cats meow. The Freebirds were in Bockwinkel were probably my.
Now you've gone on record
busiest.
to say that the AWA Remcos were your favorite wrestling.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Anything else you want to say about that before we move on?
Oh, you were sending me text with some like Remco He-Man like newer figures they're coming out with.
Yeah. Mattel is actually making mashups of those style figures. It's going to be WWF / He-Man figures because Mattel owns the rights to both of them. And also they're going to be making Ghostbusters figures because they own the rights to those. So basically, you got like, I don't know, it's like Cena, I think The Rock, Shawn Michaels in like Ghostbusters outfits, and then the one I'll probably get is the Undertaker, because he's supposed to be like the ghost that they fight, and he's pretty cool looking. He's like a translucent purple, but you can still see his tattoos and everything. So
And
so
it's
those
the
should be coming
Undertaker,
out.
so.
Well, I don't normally like go out of my way to buy Undertaker figures, but
Okay.
that
So
one,
anyway,
I do have
cool.
I do have enough. When I was digging through, I had more than I thought I did, but
I think I only had 2.
2 Undertakers.
Yeah, like
Oh, I got more than
one
that.
from like the initial attempt at these type of figures.
Oh
like
yeah, I
this
think I had a
size.
few of those.
And
the
then
Jax
one when
ones,
it was
but-
like pretty good.
yeah, I had a few
Probably like an
Jax
elite
and-
one or whatever when it's all like decked up, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, so so in around 1990, NWA, a little bit before that, changes, gets bought out by Ted Turner, turns into WCW. So they decide to finally throw their hat into the action figure ring, and I see that they are not represented by any of us,
I only have a couple.
but they were actually cool
Couldn't
too.
find 'em.
They were so they were like the WCW figures made by Galoob, and they were in the same style as LJN, but about, I don't know, maybe half the size, probably not even half the size.
Yeah, I don't really see.
Yeah, maybe like 2/3 the size. Because I
Yeah,
almost brought a Flair just to have a different, you
Yeah.
know.
I never had any Galoobs. I remember seeing them at the store a couple times, and I was just like, man, I can't get into this line. Another thing with the scale thing. I mean, it was just like, I remember just thinking, why wouldn't they just make them LJN size
Yeah.
and continue with that? But you know, they had their fans too, and they were actually very well made.
They were.
The paint apps and the sculpts and everything on them were very good, but I never had any of them. You had some, Jason?
Yeah, I had the ones that I specifically remember: Flair, Arn Anderson, Sting, of course, Luger, Doom, Ron
Yeah.
Simmons,
You had
and
Doom?
Butcher. Yeah,
Oh, that'd have been sweet.
and for whatever reason they put them
They were in
in.
sweatpants and shoes, right?
They were purple,
Really?
Oh, okay.
purple sweatpants or something like
Yeah.
that, and white tennis shoes. And I'm like,
Yeah,
why?
They
Right.
were
You know,
so
what-
good too.
yeah,
Not
You
even
know?
Zubaz. I mean, just plain. You know what I mean?
right. Yeah, I thought that was weird.
So, Flying Brian Pillman.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Now these go for quite a bit of money now too.
Really?
Yeah. Some of certain ones are easier to get, and you know, but there's more rare ones, and yeah, the prices on those are pretty high too.
Mm-hmm.
I just had the one Flair.
Did you see? I don't even remember you having that Flair.
Yeah, because I mean, because it was Ric Flair, you know, what was that, like 90, whatever? I mean, I was out of it,
90, 91.
but it was Ric Flair, so I bought it. You know, because like the Arn, I just thought they didn't, you know, I'm like, it'd be cool, you know, just to put him on the desk or whatever,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know, but he just looked bad. So Flair was the only one
Okay.
I got from that series, I believe.
So so at the same time, and I didn't understand anything about licensing at the time. I had no idea that LJN had gone out of business and stopped producing these figures. So I think I think I might have been with you. We went to Toys R Us, and we're gonna look for LJNs. Not a one on the shelf anymore, but they had a whole section of their new licensor, which was Hasbro.
Oh, yeah.
And we were like, what the hell?
Yeah.
What is going on? Yeah. But going from LJNs and being used to the LJNs, and then you go into the store, so you're used to this, and then you walk into the store and they're all like this.
See, even they performed shareholder value modifications at the time.
So needless to say, I was very disappointed and very anti Hasbro. So I never had those. I never had any of those. But and it just never crossed my mind that people even collected them. But I was bitching about them on on a wrestling board one time, and all these people jumped all over me saying how cool they were. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. I mean, anybody that was like younger than us, I mean, that's what they had in the beginning.
Here's the way I looked at it, and I can certainly see why you felt the way that you did, because you go from this, you're going to this, right?
Right.
Now, I must have been at that age where I was okay with it, because the way I looked at it, and a lot like when Mattel took over, this was a brand new line that I had an opportunity to get every single stinking one of them.
Oh, heck yeah.
You know, I start fresh, start brand new.
Right.
We came home from school. My mom had gotten every single one of these that she could find of the first series, except for the Macho Man Randy Savage.
Okay.
And she was so upset that she could, because she looked at the box, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, got this one, throw it in the cart. Got this one, throw it in the cart. No Savage. So,
Okay.
I mean, we didn't get Savage for a long time. But like everything else, the more series comes out, they're coming out with more per series and more frequently. And it, you know, for me, you know, I'm a husband, I got kids, we got a mortgage, we got bills. I can't be investing in a whole series of action figures. Man, my wife would kill me. You know what I mean?
Right.
But, you know, back then, it was like, wow, okay, a brand new set, and, you know, I'm going to get the whole collection. And they just kept coming, man. And then the next thing you know, you got 3 Hogans, you've got 2 Mr. Perfects, you've got, you know, now they're starting to put new gear on them, and, you know, but so I collected as many as I could, and then, you know, I went through a tote the other day, you know, a couple weeks ago, and that's where I found my LJNs and these ones. These were in the same box, so
Yeah.
How many totes do you have?
There's totes
Me
put
too.
away.
Next question.
Yeah. Well, I'm not at liberty to discuss right now in case my wife's listening. I don't want her.
Well, just you gotta hide that stuff from her.
Where's he got it stashed?
Now I will say one thing.
She's pretty cool about it.
As far as the figures that they did decide to make, the characters they did decide to make, I was tempted a couple times, because I was like, man, they made a Skinner. Like, when am I ever going to be able to get a Skinner and even like a Bret Hart, because I never got an LJN Bret Hart. Still to this day, I never got an LJN Bret Hart. So I almost bought that Bret Hart, but I never did. I never did do it. But now, you know, I kind of look back and think, man, if I would have started collecting the WCW Galoobs along with those would have like been like perfect.
Sure.
Those would have matched up pretty well. And I should just mention this. Mattel has started making what they call the retro series, and these are cool. But like I said, I mean, I haven't really bought any of them just
that's
because
one of the newer ones?
this is a newer one.
Right.
So
And they match up pretty well.
Yeah.
Huh.
So same thing. They got like the action figure or features and everything like that. So I mean, I do look at them. I just haven't bought any. I did buy a Stone Cold Steve Austin, but But I'm trying to sell it at my.
Oh, right there.
Yeah, that one right there. So yeah, this one's cool.
PTA,
This is,
don't
I
trust anybody.
I mean, I can appreciate them now more than I did when I was a kid. But you know, basically that was because of the scale issue. Now, Brace, you never had any of the Hasbro's either, correct?
No, I didn't. I skipped them. They weren't up to snuff.
Right. So yeah, you and I were of the same mindset.
I loved them. I'm just gonna.
It just never crossed my mind. Just because it never crossed my mind that younger kids, or kids younger than us, that was probably their toy line,
right?
Of WWF figures.
So. Well, what started to you talked about the scale thing earlier. When Hasbro came out with the not Mr. Perfect, Bret Hart. Mm-hmm. Bret Hart was bigger than Hulk Hogan.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, this is I think the Hulk-a-Slam gimmick. He had one where he had the Hulk line, where his arm was outstretched. Now, he matched up better with that Hogan. But, I mean, it was a considerable difference. Like, Bret Hart should not be that much bigger than even the Ultimate Warrior. So, I'm sorry.
You know what? Bret Hart's a creative
guy.
So.
No, I feel your pain. That's why, I missed out on. Well, I mean, not missed out on. I probably saved myself a lot of money. Not,
You did.
not buying those, or at least my parents. My parents were still buying them for me at that point, so I saved them some money there.
I think Bret Hart, since he's a creative guy, he probably had a pulse on things like that.
No,
Kind
sure.
of grease some palms. Got him some. Got a nice big figure coming out of the production line.
At that point in his career, I doubt it, but I don't think he had a whole lot of pull there. But maybe like a year or two later. So then, so you got Galoob doing WCW, you had Hasbro doing WWF for a while. Then around the same time, again, WCW, or actually the company was the original San Francisco toy makers. They started coming out with WCW figures that were along the lines of LJNs. I think that's the only one I brought, but it was like, that's Alex Wright anyway. And
I have him.
I ended up buying a bunch of them. And you got the Nasty Boys there.
Yeah.
And I ended up having Harlem Heat. So again, the scale issue, yeah, it took me a while to like lighten up. But I did start buying these because I figured, well, they were close enough. And then really it was because of ECW, because ECW and WCW started giving the smaller guys pushes at the time. So I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, and at first I think I used them as jobbers to my old LJNs, but then they started getting victories here and there, and then it was like even,
Right.
But
Well, that was a shame his career went the way it did.
oh yeah,
Alex,
exactly.
right? I thought he was talented. His dad was a wrestler, second generation.
And then at one point they came out with you know what? I don't think I bought those until these came out, and for whatever reason they had a vibrating gimmick. You'd push the side and they'd vibrate, and I don't know why. But anyway, these matched up well with the LJN, so I started buying these. And does that still work?
You got one?
Oh yeah, these are still. I have Hogan, Hall, and Nash still in boxes,
I got Hall
but
here, but
the vibrating gimmick doesn't.
Doesn't work anymore. But anyway, so
Well, that's pretty cool for a big chunk of plastic,
Yeah.
So when these came out, it kind of rejuvenated my whole LJN league again. Like, I had probably been using the same figures forever. And then once these guys came out, I started adding them into the mix, and and I used them for quite a while.
That Sting job?
Not as much as I would have thought. No, there was a Luger that I had to make him win sometimes, and actually, like, he ended up winning a lot more than I would have liked. But now you had some of these, right?
I only had, if I had any, it was like a Flair. Like, I really didn't get hardly any WCW figures at all.
Okay.
Because I think I was just kind of out of it at the time, and I really didn't, because they were shorter than the LJNs,
Right.
They weren't like exact, and I was,
Right.
So I thought, I'll pass on. I don't think beside the Alex Wright and maybe a Ric Flair, that's probably it.
I had a few of them. I had gotten them as like a birthday gift from a friend or something like that. Even like when I was like in my 20s,
Yeah.
they're like,
Oh,
it's a
okay.
wrestling figure. He's into wrestling,
Oh, yeah, hell yeah.
So
Right.
they wound up getting me Hogan, Flair, Vader, and then the Nasty Boys. And now my son, when he was young, found the LJN box, and I didn't want anything happening to the LJN guys, so I let him use the WCW guys, and he didn't. He was
Okay.
none of the wiser until he got older, and he's like, "Hey, this ain't right." You know what I mean?
Right.
Now he knows who people are. Where's Hogan? Where's where's the Warrior? This ain't them. This ain't.
Right.
So yeah, they're good to pacify and pass
It's
off
like you're
as
feeding them
LGN.
Autobots instead of Transformers.
True story. Yep.
I would too.
So right around the same time, Hasbro's license ends. I think with WWF, I think it only lasted like about 4 years, and then Jax comes out starts making WWF figures. So I'm watching. So I was probably buying these sporadically, but then these come out, and I want to say because of the way that they marketed them. They would actually have, like, in the original commercials, they'd actually have like the Road Warriors playing with their figures, and
I was like,
hey, those are, so then I don't think I was still gonna buy them just because they were smaller, but then I was like, well, at the time, this was like the first Bret Hart that I could get, so like I think I probably bought him first, and I thought he was cool, even though they were like super loose. But then I started buying those. So these were like the original style of the Jax figures. I mean, they're almost like rubbery in the legs and the head. I mean, the chest part's a little bit harder plastic. Yeah. But yeah, I didn't buy a ton of these. I'd buy some here or there.
Enough to have matches for him to beat people, huh?
Yeah,
I mean,
pretty much.
You get one.
I mean,
guy.
Right. The thing is, I don't even think that I ended up using Bret Hart to win a whole lot because it pissed me off that he was so loose. Like
I remember you complaining about that.
Yeah, like the guys that had like the tighter joints would get the pushes in my league.
Well,
I think I might have a couple of those.
Again, it's one of those things where you start fresh, brand new, right? And at this point in my life, my mom and dad quit buying toys for me, and I had to start getting them myself.
The nerve of them.
Right? Come on!
Jesus.
I think when I was 22, my mom and dad asked me, "What do you want for Christmas?" Well, I want Shawn Michaels with the white tights. I want the Undertaker with the purple gloves. Right. I got the gray glove when I needed purple. It's stupid. But I'm with you, Butch. I bought them. Obviously, at this point, I was probably very early in promoting my own product, so I would actually use these to map out matches and sequences.
You
and
talked
things
about
like
that the last time you were on.
Yeah, that's one thing that I was going to mention earlier when we were talking about AWA. I believe Sensational Sherry, in a shoot interview that I saw her in, said that that's how the Midnight Rockers and Doug Summers and Buddy Rose used to like plan their matches out. Like they'd have like the figures and they'd be like using them, and like some of the old timers would come in and be like, "What the hell are you guys doing?"
Right.
I've heard a few stories like that, like Paul Bosch and like those guys in the Houston office, like the promoters.
Really?
Somebody
they
walked
use them that way too.
Yeah, because they were like him and Gary Hart. Like Gary Hart's like explaining, trying to work out the finish.
Yeah, I mean, to those guys, I mean that has had to be a useful tool. I mean. But
hey, I did that with the MWA.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It wasn't anything different than probably what all of us have done
right.
at some point.
Another thing that annoyed me about this line was when they came out with the rings for them, they were the exact same size rings as the LJN rings.
Yes, I remember that.
And if you can see here,
huge.
I mean, just look at this camera right here.
The ropes were over their heads.
I mean, look at that. Yeah. I mean, they Vader, who is legitimately one of the largest guys to ever do it, 400 plus pounds, looks like goddamn Rey Mysterio in those rings. You know what I mean? I still got it.
Like Nikolai Volkov with the barrel chest.
Yep.
Show a close up with the Patriot mask. That is like, I don't know, man. I think that's awesome.
Okay, the Patriot came out in one of the later lines from Jax.
Oh, that's not the same.
It's the
is,
same company, but this was like Series 3.
Okay.
We're up to Series 12 or something with him.
So they did some improvements.
Yes, because like Bret Hart and The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels of Series 1, that is a Series 1 action figure. I mean, that's Bret the Hitman Hart, but that does not look like Bret the Hitman Hart.
Right.
Yeah.
You can tell that this is Vader, and it's starting to look more like the guys themselves, I think. I mean, you look at that face, you can tell that's Vader.
Yeah.
With the Patriot, okay, bad example because he's wearing a mask, but I mean, the detail in the body and the face itself.
Yeah.
a lot more detail as they went along. And then when they started doing the classic superstars, that's when I fully got back on board. Started collecting because the box art.
Yeah,
man.
kind of. That's what I did.
That's
too.
what I was going to say too. I will say this. I remember seeing the Blue Blazer figure so many times, and I'm kicking myself for never buying it.
Yes.
They had I think it was like a Target exclusive at the time, and at one point they had lowered the price on it, clearanced it out, and I still didn't buy it, and I don't know why. I think because they had already kind of started doing now when they changed body styles, were they already doing the current figures like these?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So same as you, I didn't really go, all in on these until they started doing this body style, which was tighter joints. I mean, this Brett is actually it looks like him.
Yeah, that's
At
good.
the time, it was probably the best likeness that they'd made of one.
Totally agree.
So yeah, I started buying the classic superstars as well. But as far as current wrestlers, I still didn't like Jax too much because of the way that I felt that they cut a lot of corners. They used the same body styles over and over and over.
Right.
Some of the paint apps weren't correct. I mean, they just, they did what they could. I mean, for the time, they were still great. I mean, they were the best figures probably at the time that had been out, and and they did a lot of obscure characters too, obscure wrestlers too that you didn't think they would. I mean, they did the Briscoes.
Right.
I gotta get those guys.
I think they did a Johnny Rods, and so that was cool for Jax. But again, scale. I remember walking in one time and seeing their first Rey Mysterio and their first big show that they had, and they were the same size. They were the same height. Because I almost bought it, and then I was comparing the two, and I'm like, well, I'm not buying these. They're exactly the same height. They did get a little bit better as far as Andre the Giant and stuff. They started making Andre bigger. They made a huge Giant Gonzalez at one point.
Yep.
But so I had I did end up having quite a few of the Jax, the later series like these, and I had a lot of the classic superstars too.
Well,
and they made original Sheik. I forgot about that. I do have him.
I have several of these that are still in boxes, but they started making guys that they weren't known for their WWF/E run.
Right.
Yeah, that's what got me looking at them again.
It's wow, they have. I can't think of anybody offhand. I was trying to Johnny Rods. Okay, we know him as the premier jobber, but the Shockmaster is in this series.
Yeah, the Shockmaster.
And
they made the Genius Lanny Poffo.
Yeah.
They made the Brooklyn Brawler.
Steve Williams.
It's Dr. Death.
I do have that Dr. Death.
Zeus. They did make one of Zeus and made one of Andy Kaufman.
Andy Kaufman, right?
Yep.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I must have missed something because
Yeah.
I didn't even know they had a original Sheik, the Sheik from Detroit.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they did. I didn't see him out there too much. I bought it as soon as I saw it, and I didn't see it much around.
My wife got
after
it
that.
for me. She's like, this one, I've never heard of this guy. She knew
Yeah.
it's Iron Sheik.
Yeah.
Because she didn't. She watched wrestling a little bit before we got together, but it wasn't until we got together that she, whether she wanted to or not, she now knows all this, stuff. So,
Oh, and they made a Bruiser Brody.
Yep, I do have a Brody.
And Abdullah, which Abdullah had already been made, but they made another version of Abdullah, and show that on camera, Jason, or one of you. The Matt Hardy. So they did their own version of the LJNs. I did buy a couple of them. I think I've gotten rid of most of the ones that I had, but I kept Rey Mysterio because he actually is in scale with my other LJNs. So they were cool. I mean, I liked them for what they were, but again, I was like, why can't they just make them the normal size?
Right. I loved them. We're real big into retro things. The whole nostalgia thing. A new series came out. Each series came with one of these LJNs. I know. Look, pal, I ain't got time to do everything. This guy. But they had. The first smart
deep
ass.
from the archive.
Listen. When they first came out with these, they put them in the black boxes, like the rest of the classic series.
Oh yeah.
My Stone Cold is in the black box. My Undertaker. It wasn't until later on when they said, like, okay, we're going to run with these. They started bringing back that retro blue into them. So I mean, they have cool ones. Like you said, Rey Mysterio.
Yeah. I think I had a Eddie Guerrero. I might still have him. They had a Mankind. I had.
Yep. RVD.
Yeah.
Trish Stratus.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of all the ones I have on my wall.
Okay.
Oh crap! See, that's the
There
one
goes
thing
Martel.
I was worried. Martel.
There goes Stone Cold Steve Austin too. Damn it.
He'll get up. So
now, Brace, did you have? I don't remember. Did you have a lot of Jakks?
No.
Jakks figures?
I mean, I had a couple. What was the one I made the giant Tim out of? I mean, I had like a handful of them.
That was a rock from one of the first series that they made.
Oh,
That was still like the smaller rubbery ones.
Oh, okay. Like the Vader one, kind of.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was like a rock from one of the earlier series.
with the blue tights, or did it have black?
It had
White.
like
Did he have the funky hair on top?
yeah.
Yeah.
He had white. They were kind of like.
No, you made them white. They were black
Oh,
for the
yeah,
rock.
that's
You
right.
made them white. To
Yeah,
make 'em
and he had
the giant
sideburns,
teeth. Yeah.
and I shaved them off just like.
Just like Bockwinkel.
Yeah, that's.
Crying shame.
It is. I'm so disappointed in myself for that. But I'm sure I have a couple of them because I think at that time, like, unless you were like, dude, this guy's cool or
Yeah.
whatever, because I'd look, but I might have like a couple. But generally, it wasn't until like later on, like when they had the Rock and Rolls and Midnights and those guys that I
the
really
classic,
like.
classic one. Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
should show Bobby. I didn't bring Stan Lane, but one of my probably my all-time favorite wrestler right here, and the only version that they've made of him. I would like to see Mattel do one, but I doubt it.
Beautiful Bobby Eaton.
Yeah, beautiful.
And they should, and the Rock and Roll Express too.
Yeah, certainly, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of that, like how everything looks different. I remember seeing like the Spawn figures. You know, you were into the Spawn. You kind of got me into it.
Yeah.
And then looking at the detail on those and just thinking, how come they can't have wrestling figures like that?
Right.
You know, and I don't know where that falls in line with the wrestling figure lines, but they buried them. And then all of a sudden, it seems like it took like 5-10 years before they really started making the figures, Spawn like that. The likenesses were similar, like really similar.
Well, even Jakks, like let's take this for example. They would throw like a series like this out. Unfortunately, most of them didn't really last too long. Like this might have lasted 2 series. There was like a Andre the Giant, a Freddie Blassie, him. I don't know, it might have been a couple other ones, but yeah, for whatever reason
Goldust.
they didn't. Yeah, Goldust.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason they just didn't catch on.
I thought
Yeah.
they were cool. In
I
fact,
loved them, but I think
um,
that's the only one I ever got though. But I thought they were cool. Oh, they made a Jimmy Snuka, I believe, too.
yes, yes.
And
A friend of mine just she was cleaning out her son's things out of her house because he was moving out, and she came across 3 of these still in boxes.
Really?
really,
Yeah, and she let me have them. It was a Blassie, Captain Lou, Albano,
yeah, that's right.
and
Yeah.
Jimmy
You got Jimmy
Snuka.
Ham. Okay.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
weird because I have a Captain Lou on the LJN figure, and I was looking through them today, and I picked it up, and I'm like, someone should modify and make that like a modern day Cactus Jack or Mick Foley. It looked almost
Yeah,
just like him.
no kidding.
Yeah. All right. Now I did not bring any of these with me, but I did have, and this. Speaking of likenesses, this kind of set the toy industry, or at least wrestling figures, back a little bit. The original San Francisco toy company lost the WCW license to Toy Biz, which was also like Marvel. It was like Marvel's own toy company that they had. So they picked up ECW. So I'm gonna
yeah, I
I'm gonna
remember
skip
those.
over that. I did have a few of those. They were okay, but their arms were like really jacked up. Like the way I can't even explain it. Some of them had arms that only bent out this way, and they had action features also. So they'd have like big levers on their back and whatever. So I did have a few of those, and some of them were cool. But but really, what kind of set the tone was the Marvel Toy Biz WCW figures. I think that kind of set the tone for where we are now, as far as like articulation. And I don't think I brought a couple of them. These are like more rare ones towards the end. Vampiro
Huh.
here.
I don't even remember. I
And,
don't even remember those. That's pretty cool.
These were like at the end, and then Canyon, but that Canyon's kind of jacked up. But either way, they actually made some great figures, and I thought that line was good. I mean, they had action features also, but and that only lasted. I think that line might have lasted about 4 years, and then well, I can't remember what went out of business first, either WCW or the Marvel toy line. But did you have any of those? Many of those?
No,
Okay.
for the most part, if it wasn't WWE, I didn't really invest in it. I mean, except for the rare exceptions like the Galoobs and the Nasty Boys, that whole set. But if it wasn't, I was full disclosure, I was not an ECW fan. I
Well,
tried.
I'm talking about WCW now. At this
Oh,
point,
I'm just saying, as far as anything that's not WWE,
Yeah.
I didn't pay real close attention to it. I may
Okay.
have glanced at it at the stores, but
Yeah.
as far as making that
Right.
investment, it didn't happen.
Okay. Now I can pretty much guarantee that you had none of those.
That's correct.
So then Jax loses the license to WWF figures, and Mattel takes it over. And I just remember in the beginning, I was excited for it because like I said, I wasn't a huge fan of Jax because they had just used the same body molds over and over and over, and they weren't like updating stuff. And I think they just cut a lot of corners. But like the first series, I remember people that were like so invested in Jax were like, I'm never buying any Mattel figures, whatever. So we see the first pictures of the first the basic series of Mattel, because basically they got a basic series or the core series, and then they have the elite series that are a little bit more articulated. And I thought they were cool. I mean, I got a few right off the bat. I got a Kofi Kingston from Series 1, and I got a who was that guy that you hated? Evan Bourne. I got him. And then my first elite that I got was CM Punk, number 1, because I had seen like the CM Punk's Jax, and he was just too muscular and didn't look right. So when they came out with that, I did buy him. And I think Mattel has just knocked it out of the park. And I've seen a lot of people like on the toy boards be like kicking themselves for not buying the first, I don't know, so many series of them because they were so dead set on Jax, thinking Jax was somehow gonna take the license back over. It's like, sorry, buddy, it doesn't work like that.
No, it's over. The
Yeah.
Jax era has come and gone, and by the time Jax got to the end there, they did a pretty decent job, especially with the classic lines. Now, when Mattel took over, it was again new opportunity. I got the whole first 2 series. It's up on my wall, and I didn't hate on them. I was just this is a good start, but it's not going to be enough,
Right.
So when the elite things started coming into play, and then you have your special order elites. I actually picked this up from a friend of mine that I work with, Chris Welch. He had this was a ringside collectible exclusive, and I've always been a big fan of Hogan in his red, white, and blue outfit.
That's sweet.
And hence the shirt.
Yeah,
you got the same shirt.
Yeah,
on as-
Right.
My wife actually got this for me when she went down to Florida last year, and she just thought it was a Hogan shirt. She brought it back. I was like, oh my God, that's the sweetest thing ever. So, and then Chris was getting rid of some of his stuff. He's like, hey, I got this figure. I'm like, I don't care what you want for it. I'm on it.
Yeah.
Because
See,
very well done.
I've toyed with. I don't think I've ever bought a Ringside Collectibles exclusive. Although I've toyed with it a bunch of times, I never have. Like there was a Bret Hart that came out that I almost got and I didn't. There was a CM Punk that came out that I almost got and didn't. And those things have like shot way up in value. I haven't checked the Hogan recently, but I almost got that Hogan. But yeah, just what Mattel has done, and originally they were like not making a whole lot of the more obscure characters. They were like their philosophy was like, oh well, we can only make guys that are on TV so much, and then but now it's gotten to the point where they're making the NXT figures and they're making just they're pretty much they're making anybody. I mean, I saw Drew Gulak the other day. I mean, I think I might have seen him wrestle like one time, but I saw his figure on the shelf and I was like shocked at that. But yeah, I just think that they've. And then as far as their, I remember like seeing the original pictures of their classic line, and at first I was thinking, well, I think they maybe should have waited because at first I think they were struggling. They were struggling because, and I think a lot of it was due to Jakks and like the Jakks holdouts.
Right.
You know, you would just spend all this money on the Jakks Classic Superstars, and then now you're wanting to people to buy doubles,
Right.
or new figures. So they put that on hold for a while because they had the Legends line. Like I said, I don't think they sold very well. So then they kind of put those on hold for a while. Well, they did away with the Legends line and then started bringing them into the regular series a while after as, quote, flashbacks.
Yes.
But then the flashbacks started selling well. So then they started putting more and more flashbacks out there on
When I think things the general public and the audience that they were going for really got on the Mattel bandwagon is when they announced that this guy was coming to the line.
I agree with you.
When Randy Savage stood up and made that live announcement that he was back in the WWE fold for Mattel, that's when it all changed.
Yes.
Really?
And that was at a San Diego Comic-Con. They made the big announcement because for whatever reason, Jakks never was able to
Secure the rights
to secure the rights to do a Randy Savage. So yeah, I agree with you. And then they started, on how many Randy Savages have they made so far? And
right.
Let me put that one up there. They've made some great ones. And
this was when he was part of the Ultimate Maniacs tag team with the Ultimate Warrior back in '92. So, I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, I've got several variations of Savage, Macho King, and
I got
his WrestleMania
myself.
3 outfit with Steamboat. And, all speaking of Steamboat.
Yeah,
I think I have
one.
I think I got like
with the
every
old school.
Steamboat that they've made. They made quite a few Steamboats. They've made the old Steamboat and the new Steamboat, and then they've made some more obscure ones too. I mean, Kevin Von Erich.
Those are great ones.
Yeah.
This Carrie, which I did read recently that they're going to make new versions of these.
Are they going to make it David?
So,
That'd be awesome.
I don't know about that. It would be cool, but I think they were just going to update these guys.
Look, they even made his prosthetic. No, I'm just kidding.
I should have pulled it off.
Oh no!
Attention to detail they have.
I think,
but with Carrie, they actually made this version of him, and they made a Texas Tornado version of him that I think came out.
it was
around
in
this
Series 2, I think, because I have
some of those early series.
Yep.
Yeah. This was this Series 1? Do you remember?
Yes.
Okay. Series 1 or 2 anyway.
Well, it's 1 or 2, yeah, because him and Animal.
And I never got Animal because they gave him two developed abs. His abs were like too developed.
You know what? I have another version of Hawk. I think it might be an Elite. Whatever, it's boxed. Like whatever. They had Elite, they had Legends, and what was the other one they had? I don't know. It was one of them. And then they have a Hawk, but the animal looked like crap, so I never bought them. So I just got a Hawk without an animal.
That's kind of what I did with this Hawk. I never bought the original Hawk, but then later on they made a better version, Legion of Doom version. I do have those. I mean, but yeah, some of the early stuff, even this one I just read is pretty rare now. But I mean, that's not why I buy them. I don't buy them for the rarity or anything, but I just happen to be looking and seeing which ones are rare now and which ones aren't. But so I'm not going to get into like some of the more obscure lines, but we're running out of time. So If
Show a picture of that.
if you had this was like the original before Jack started doing Legends figures. This company made it's figures toy company, and actually these guys still make
They make the Jim Cornette figures, don't they?
yeah, they're still making, and they're more like this Jack style now than that style. And they're making Ring of Honor figures, but the problem is they're like $30 a pop or something. Something like that, because I would have got a couple of them, but yeah, they're too expensive. But just before we go, is there any territory that you wish would have had action figures? I mean, for the most part, I guess, most everyone was represented at this point. But.
No, I think they did do a pretty good job of spotlighting big stars from different territories. The thing of it is that a lot of those stars crossed over from territory to territory until a lot of them made it to, New York. And then once they got to New York, that's all. They were the WWF's Junkyard Dog, not Mid-South.
Right.
They were.
Yeah.
It was WWF's Jake the Snake Roberts, not wherever he came, not Mid-South or Mid-Atlantic or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think they've done a pretty fair job as far as spotlighting the different areas.
I would say so too, definitely at this point. Is there a Holy Grail figure that you have not obtained that you would like to get at some point?
No, not one. I mean, if I was to go on eBay or something like that and I seen something that I was like, oh no, that's cool. Really, the one my prized possession as far as action figures go, my father-in-law and my mother-in-law and my wife went in and paid a stupid amount of money for a Jakks Pacific, a classic Hulk Hogan. Mm-hmm. It was in this outfit, the red, white, and blue, but he had his Hulk machine attire with it.
Oh, okay.
And Hogan signed the figure.
Really?
And he's got the certificate of authenticity.
Oh,
and
okay,
everything.
that's awesome.
That thing does not leave my house.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
under lock and key.
Right.
That
Yeah.
I must really like you if I pull that out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Eyes off.
Right. I mean, now I have seen ads where it's like, oh, that would be cool to have, or
Yeah.
things like that. But I wouldn't say there's one that I just have to have. I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, give me a like the Fuller family, like some of the southeastern stuff.
Yeah.
Like was there a Bunkhouse Buck?
No, there was never a Bunkhouse Buck either.
But give me like a Fuller and Golden, like a tag team, or a Ron Fuller, like some of those Southern guys that were big names and drew a hell of a lot of money, but just aren't, in the pop. They never went to WWF really,
Right.
or if they went, the name was changed.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of something completely
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Some of those guys
Yeah.
would be cool.
Well, as far as ones that exist, I mean, and I've had the opportunity. One of these days, if I find a one in good enough condition, I will finally buy that LJN and Bret the Hitman Hart. But we're almost out of time. Thank you, Jason Clouse, once again for joining us.
No,
It's been fun.
I appreciate you
And,
bringing me
Great
on.
having you on,
I
man.
appreciate it. This is
and
fun.
we still got other stuff to talk about. So this may be the part one to this, but we'll see in the future. Brace Beemer, any parting words?
Nope. Check out the Sabu homebrew there. Have a nice night, everyone.
And don't forget MWO this weekend.
This
in
Sunday in Davison,
Davison.
starts at 11 a.m.
Nice.
Take care, everyone. We will see you next time.
Yeah.
In a sleepy little town in South Michigan, about a halfway between Detroit and Flint, there were 5 little lakes. They flooded to one.